Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So tomorrow, or I guess by the time this is recorded, today is pre-release, the first day of pre-release for BT 13. This set is going to be an absolute menace on the meta, so I wanted to cover this week the most meta decks, most meta impacting decks that we're going to see. So we've already covered Shine Greymon, now we'll be covering the Royal Knights deck. All 13 Royal Knights gathered together in one deck to basically slay the entire Digimon Digiverse. Also, don't forget to check out our Patreon as well as our Etsy page. Links in the description below for both of those. You can get all of our memory markers on our Etsy page, our featured memory marker of the month from our Patreon. Just go there, find out which ones you like, and go ahead and check it out. We've got new bundles available as well for some reduced costs on some of our old markers. So definitely, if you haven't been there in a while, go check that Etsy page out. There's lots of new stuff going on. Also, if you guys are a fan of buying cards and singles online like I am, I recommend checking out cardtrader.com. I'll have a link in the description below that you can go and use to sign up. You'll instantly get a free $2 to use on cardtrader.com. It's a great website because if you use their Card Trader Zero program, what they do is they gather all the cards that you're buying at their warehouse, and then they ship them to you for a single shipping cost. It sucks when you have to pay more for the shipping than you do the cards themselves. That's when cardtrader.com comes in clutch. So just use my link, go sign up, and get yourself free $2 and go start buying some singles. All right, so as always, I've got the deck pulled up for you guys so you can follow along with us and see what we're working with and what our overall goal here is. You will also notice we're at 48 of 50 cards, and I have everything in here that I want. So you have 2 flex spots left to get whatever you want. Whatever card you think needs to be bumped up to a 3 of, go for it. There's plenty to choose from. I definitely want to max out on the most important stuff though. So let's go ahead and do this card by card. First up, this is what makes the deck work here. This and Omnimon is really like what makes the whole deck possible. So Drasil or King Drasil for the English format. Breeding, your turn. Your Digimon can't digivolve. Keep that in mind. Your Digimon cannot digivolve. Some people like to tech in Jesmon GX. You can't digivolve Jesmon GX on top of your other level 6s that you're playing out for free because you can't digivolve. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're teching that card in. I'm not a fan of it, but I know a lot of other people are. Breeding, your turn once per turn. When you would play a Digimon card with a Royal Knight trait, you may reduce its play cost by 4. For each card in this Digimon's Evolution card, reduce the play cost by an additional 1. So, and then go ahead and jump into this next part. Your turn, start of main phase. So after you hatch, you're going to hatch this, and then start of your main phase, reveal the top card of your Digi-Egg deck, place that card and all of your Digimon with the Royal Knights trait under this Digimon as its bottom Digivolution cards. So you hatch this and immediately goes into main phase. You flip over the next card. It's another King Drasil. It slides underneath this card. Okay, so now you're instantly 4 with the additional 1 here. So now all of, well, not once per turn, you can minus 5 play cost from one of your Royal Knights, okay? And that can increase every single turn. So at the start of your main phase, for the next 2 turns after this, you're going to flip over another King Drasil, slide it under, flip over another one, slide it under. So in total, you'll have 3 King Drasils underneath your Yggdrasil by the time you're ready to kind of really get going. So those alone is going to put you at minus 7 play cost, and then all your Royal Knights that are getting sucked up at the beginning of your main phase every single round are also getting absorbed. Okay, that's a huge stack, right? That's a ton of stuff getting put underneath this King Drasil. And then also inheritable here, which triggers in the breeding, your turn once per turn. When you place an option card with the Royal Knight's trait in your battle area, gain 1 memory. So this has a delay effect that places it there. And remember, you're going to have multiples of these inheritables, so you can have up to 3 inheritables to gain you 3 memory back. So makes this essentially a 6 play cost, a 3 play cost at its peak. So yeah, very, very good stuff. So basically the idea is to play all your Royal Knights for super cheap, just hard play them. You don't digivolve anything, hard play them for super cheap. And I want to go ahead and we're going to do this in a little bit out of order here, but I want to jump to the end to Omnimon. Okay, this is what makes the whole deck like come alive. This is your win con, right? This is the goal of the deck. Once you get a whole bunch of inheritables underneath that Drasil, you're gonna then play this Omnimon for super cheap on play, or when digivolving. You may delete one of your opponent's Digimon, or play one of each Digimon card with a different name and with a Royal Knight trait from the Digivolution cards under the Digimon in your breeding area without paying the cost. If you played a Digimon by this effect, trash one Digimon in your breeding area, and all of your Digimon gain rush for the turn. So all those Royal Knights you've been sliding underneath that King Drasil, Yggdrasil every single round, now you got to play out one of every different one of them, and then they all get rushed. But after you do that, the Yggdrasil gets trashed, okay? So your whole plan is to drop this Omnimon, play out a ton of Megas, give them all rush, and try to win. Because basically, if you can't win with that big flooded field of all those Megas, you just lose, okay? You just instantly, you can't come back from that, because then you're playing this stuff at massive play cost. It's just not going to work. Once this gets trashed with the Omnimon, that's it, you're done. I am playing 4 of the Omnimon. I've seen some people work in 3, but I've also seen people like really struggle at 3. They'll dig and dig and dig and just be having all kinds of problems. I want to play it safe with the Omnimon. Now, if you want to get a little bit more risk versus reward, now remember, I still got 2 slots left that I haven't even used, and that's with this at a 4 of. So, you know, there is some wiggle room there. It's not completely awful. But yeah, so 4 of on that, because you have to see it. It is literally the win con of the entire deck. If you don't see this, you just lose. All right, so now let's jump back to the beginning here. Let's look at all of our consistency pieces. First up, we've got some Sistermons in here. Because it's a Royal Knight deck, the Sistermons do actually synergize here. On play, trash 1 card, draw 2. And then all turns, while you have a Digimon card with Huckmon in its name or Royal Knight in the traits, this Digimon gains Decoy. So you could protect your Royal Knights, you know, multiple different ways. So you can play this out. She gets Decoy. You hard play one of these guys for super cheap because of your Yggdrasil. Turn goes to your opponent, right? You pass turn. Your opponent tries to kill whatever Royal Knight that was before it can get absorbed. If you can kill the Royal Knights before they get absorbed, you know, that's, you know, a viable strategy there. It is a little difficult because they are Megas. But yeah, so if you put the Decoy out there, that's going to help you a lot. As well as the draw too, just more and more consistency. And speaking of consistency, we have the CL from the starter deck as well here. So on play, reveal the top 3, add 1 with Huck in its name or Royal Knight in its traits. Trash the rest, so you're gonna get some trash effects, which actually isn't that bad in this, because we do have some Royal Knights that do recycle from the trash. All turns, all of your Digimon with Huckmon in their names and Royal Knights in their trait gain reboot. So that's really cool. So we can give some reboot to our guys here. For the most part, not too important. It's mainly just that search. Reveal 3, find the Royal Knight that you need. It is a 4 play cost, but we're just playing it at a 2 of here. Next is the Omecamon for the deck from this set. Another 4 play cost, level 4 here. On play, draw 1. Then on deletion, place 1 Digimon card with the Royal Knight's traits from your hand under one of your Yggdrasil in your breeding area as its bottom Digivolution card. So where this is kind of neat is if you play 1 Royal Knight for super cheap using your King Drasil, your Yggdrasil, you only get that reduction once per turn. You still need something in the past turn. This is a great one to drop, because then that on deletion, you can basically double up the amount of Digivolution cards that Yggdrasil ends up getting because of this guy. So he's pretty cool also here as some alternative plays, because not all of your plays are going to pass turn on these Megas. When you hard drop them, you will get to the point where you will no longer actually be passing turn. So that's when cards like this really, really start to shine. So I went ahead and bumped him up to a 4 of. I think he's a bit of a debate honestly, if 4 of is the way to go. Like, he's not overly necessary, but he is a nice addition to the deck for sure. Maybe 4 of is needed, maybe it's not. This might be one of those like personal preference kind of situations on this guy, on what the ratio is that you prefer. All right, now actually getting into our Royal Knights themselves, we got a lot to go through here. First up is Omnimon. Omnimon is the one you want to see in your opening hand. If you do not open a Omnimon in your opening hand, you pretty much mulligan. I mean, there's just not much else to say here. You probably just mulligan that hand and try to get a Magna on the next one. He is a blocker here. He's normally a 7 play cost, but remember, you're going to be minusing 5, so he turns into a 2 play cost on the first turn. On the very first turn, he's a 2 play cost. Pretty crazy. Blocker, all turns when this Digimon would leave play, draw one. Then you may play one Vmon from your hand or this Digimon's Dilution cards without paying the cost. That second part doesn't matter, but it's when it leaves play, whether it's deleted, gets put in security, gets put underneath a Tamer, gets put underneath your baby in your Drasil, whatever the case is, you draw one. This is a great going second card, I think. If you're going first, hard playing this for 2, I mean, it gets the absorption going, and it like starts to churn things out. That's one thing you can slide underneath. Not a bad play. You're gonna lose out on your blocker because your opponent's not gonna have anything to attack with yet. But going second, this feels like a pretty solid going second deck. You're gonna get that draw as well as get to play this blocker out, things like that. But it also feels like a going first because you want to start getting as many turns ahead of your opponent of absorbing Royal Knights as possible. So either way, but yeah, no matter what, absolutely a 4 of. You want to see this in your opening hand. Great starter. Another one that we want to see a lot of, and this one is a -5 on turn 1. So again, going second, not a bad choice to play here. Play for 5 to pass turn. On play, reveal the top 4 of your deck. Add 2 cards with Lucimon in their name or Royal Knight trait among them to your hand. Trash the rest. And then your turn, when you play another Digimon with Lucimon in its name or Royal Knights in trait, delete all your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. Not a bad one there. So especially if you can get this guy to stick somehow, yeah, he's pretty solid there. So you can play him out for a 5 or 4, whatever you add on your Drasil, and then you drop another Royal Knight afterwards, maybe like a Magna or something like that. You could potentially do a massive board wipe of your opponent. With that your turn effect. Now it's a little bit more difficult to get off just because yes, all your Royal Knights to hard play are going to be very expensive, but still in the right situations could be a great card. Mainly where he's our searcher. I know level 6 searcher is pretty hard play is pretty crazy, but yeah, he starts out at a 5 and then he goes down from there pretty quick. So by turn 2 he's a 3 play cost because the Magna and then the second Drasil gets absorbed. So now we're up to 3 sources and then the 4, so that's -7. So yeah, he's a 3 play cost on turn 2. That as a searcher, that makes sense. All right, and those are our main starters, right? You want to get those guys in circulation and get them played out in the beginning ASAP. And then after that, you can start looking at your turn 3s. What are you going to start doing for turn 3? And that's where these other guys start to come in. Yeah, so and also the turns where you play these and you don't pass turn, that's when you play these other guys, right? So your Sistermons and your Omecamons or even your Tamers, when you don't pass turn, that's when you play those other guys. You don't play another Royal Knights because you only get that reduction one time. All right, next up we got Jesmon. So on play here, choose any number of your opponent's Digimon whose total DP adds up to 6,000 DP or less and delete them. For every other Digimon you have in play, add 2,000 to the maximum DP you can choose with this effect. All turns, all of your Digimon get plus 1,000 DP for each other Digimon with Sistermons in its name or the Royal Knight trait you have in play. This one's not too great just to play on its own. This one is incredible on the turns that you get to play the Omnimon and you get to play him out of your raising area with all of his buddies, okay? On that turn, that on play is going to be massive, and that's when you're really going to see the power of it. Getting rid of big threats and issues like that, that's when he's going to show up. I don't like to run one-ofs. If you're new to the channel, if you're a veteran of the channel, you definitely know I do not like running one-ofs, so I refuse to run any of these guys that are one-of. because of that. I want to see at least one time in the game. I want to see every single one of these guys at one point. So I run 2 of them for that reason. Next, we got Genkumon here, which is our blocker for the deck. 13 play cost, 8 play cost on turn 1. On play, you may play 1 Digimon card with Sistermon and its name from your trash, or 1 Digimon card with the Royal Knight trait from the Digivolution cards of your Digimon in the breeding area without paying its cost. You cannot play Omnimon or Genkumon with this effect. That's pretty great. So he's a little bit more expensive than the other ones, but you do get to play out another Royal Knight off of that, which is really awesome. Yeah, and you get their on-play effects, which is crazy. Blockers. So you can play out another Magnamon, you can play out a Dynasmon for a search, right? You can play out the Jesmon for a pop. All this stuff you can play out. He's pretty cool as well. I do like the Genkumon, just because we're going to get multiple, interactions there. And they do just get absorbed right back on the next turn. So they get played out, and then they all just get absorbed right back up. So... next, we got the All Force here on play. Trash the top 2 Digimon cards from one of your opponent's Digimon for each of your Digimon with the Royal Knight trait and each of your blue Tamers in play. Your turn, once per turn, when you play a Digimon with Royal Knights in its traits or blue Tamer, return one of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards to its owner's hands. I think this is one of the weaker ones, in my opinion. It is a little bit of a bounce here, but you kind of really need a lot of stuff to really... again, he's another great one with when you play the Omnimon out and he shows up with all of his buddies. He's really going to see the power then of the All Force. But on those like single turns, he's not going to be a great one. So I think actually let's move this. So these are the ones that feel really strong just on their own, and then we're going to create a second, like the other half is going to be the ones that are particularly good when you can play them out with Omnimon. Next, we got Kentarosmon here on play. If the total number of both security cards is 6 or less, so yours and your opponent's combined is 6 or less, gain 3 memory. And reveal 1 card from your hand. If that card is yellow, place it on top of your security stack face down. If not, return it to the hand. When attacking by trashing 1 card from the top of your security stack, unsuspend this Digimon and one of your opponent's Digimon get minus 7,000 DP for turn. That when attacking effect is like really solid. It's like he's like War Greymon all over again from, what was that, BT4, Yellow War Greymon. If you're familiar, if you've been playing as long as I have, you remember that format. It's pretty cool. This is a little bit more powerful than that one was. But it trash instead of return to hand is the difference. But he's got 13,000 DP, whereas War Greymon only had 11. So he died half the time, it seems like, that he swung into security. So this one's a little bit more likely. As well as you get to place that yellow card on top of security. Now, for this particular deck, we don't see that value as much because there's not a whole lot of yellow. In other yellow decks, like the Kentarosmon, like Pure deck, you see that a little bit more. But we do run him for the name nonetheless. We've got to at least run all of the different Royal Knights here. So again, this might be one that you run at a 1 of, but I don't run anything at 1 of. So next we got Leopardmon. You'll notice we're not using the Gato mode, the Leopard mode here. I don't think he's quite necessary. You get to unsuspend one of, or you can suspend one of your other Digimon to unsuspend this Digimon. Like, do I really need that effect in this? Like, all those other guys are going to be super crazy powerful anyways. So they could everyone here could survive a security check pretty easily. So I don't think he's quite necessary. When Digivolving, main, once per turn, you may play 1 Digimon card with Royal Knights in its trait or 1 green Digimon from your hand. Paying the cost. When you would play cards with this effect, reduce the play cost by 4. It's okay. You could play a Magnamon for 3 or something like that. It's still going to be a hefty cost there. All turns, when you play another Digimon, all of your Digimon with the Royal Knight trait and all of your green Digimon get blocker until the end of your opponent's turn. Like, that's not bad. If you're in a tight spot, a Leopardmon could be pretty useful. Just, playing out stuff, and then you get that the blocker there. You could play out like a Genkumon, and then that Genkumon will snowball, and he'll get his play effect and play something else out. I mean, that's a lot of memory, but I guess in the right situation, getting 3 blockers on field might be worth it. So he's okay. I think he's situational, but he's situational for situations that come up a lot. So that's just kind of funny, like that. All right, next we got the Examon coming back here. 14 play cost, very, very expensive. He does have the DNA where you can take the 2 level 6 and yellow green and blue and combine them together. But in this deck, we're just going to get that on play, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. That Digimon doesn't unsuspend during your opponent's next unsuspend phase. So again, the turn we play this out with like an Omnimon, you can, suspend that pesky blocker that's in your way, War Greymon or whatever, Black War Greymon X. All turns, once per turn, when your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, you may activate one of the effects below. So use that top effect, then activate one of these, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, unsuspend one of your Digimon. So just kind of depending on the situation, right? Say you attacked with a Sistermon, that Sistermon survived, then you drop the Omnimon, play out all these guys. I mean, you could literally just use Examon here to unsuspend that Sistermon so she can attack again. Also, a great choice to handle pesky blockers. Your opponent has 2 blockers. Well, I'm going to get my on-play suspend, and then I'm going to get the other one to suspend something else. So you're going to get 2 suspension effects out of this Examon. So again, I think he's a great card for the turn you go into Omnimon. I'm going to go ahead and move this Leopardmon over. I think he's a little bit situational, but definitely more than just the turns that you're going to go into with Omni here. All right, next we got Alphamon, the leader of the Royal Knights here, on play by placing 1 Digimon card with the X antibody with the X antibody or Royal Knight's traits from your trash under this Digimon as this bottom evolution card until the end of your opponent's turn. Your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 10 or more can't attack a player. This is actually pretty huge. Remember a lot of those effects that we were talking about earlier, they trash stuff like Dynasmon and things like that. They were trashing. Like, is that really great for this? Maybe bottom decking would be better. No, when it comes to the Alphamon, you'll be thankful that you trashed some of your Royal Knights because this is actually huge. In the mirror match, playing this and your opponent can't attack with play cost 10 or more, it turns off all of them. I mean, look at this. If you look at all the Royal Knights here, everyone's at least 11 except for Magna. So the only thing, if they played an Omnimon and they flooded the field, the only thing they could attack with would be a single Magnamon. So that's the power of Alphamon here in like the mirror match is, and he's like your go-to stopper right there, as well as all turns, once per turn, when this Digimon would leave the battle area by effect by placing 1 card with X antibody or Royal Knight traits from this Digimon's Digivolution cards to the bottom of its owner's deck, prevent it from leaving play. That's huge. So it's when the Digimon would leave play. That's pretty much anything, as long as it's by effect, not by battle. Chaos Dag, Lone Key sends it to security. This dodges that. Arrest your Digimon Superior mode, putting it to the bottom of a Tamer. This stops that. People have used the argument that it's not leaving the battlefield, it's getting placed on a Tamer. The difference is card versus Digimon. If this card would leave the battle area, then that's different. The Digimon is leaving the battle area though, because the Digimon himself is turning into just a card. That's like the difference between the ace mechanic and this, right? Because if the ace goes underneath a Tamer, it's still on the battlefield. You don't get that overflow effect until it leaves the underneath the Tamer. And that's where the big caveat, like they finally broke it down a little bit more clearly because they actually implemented ace cards. But yeah, so it goes to security, goes to hand, goes to bottom of deck, goes to trash, goes to the bottom of Tamers. Even if it was to get absorbed for some reason, you know, if you wanted to prevent it from getting absorbed by King Drasil, you could do that as well here. So very, very powerful card here, this Alphamon. A must-have for the mirror match, I would say. Very powerful card just in general, for sure. You want to time this one out as well. So yeah, not one that you really want to save. I would say maybe a little bit better than Leopardmon. All right, Craniummon is next. Just straight up blocker. All right, on play, this Digimon isn't affected by effects of your opponent's Digimon until the end of your opponent's turn. Pretty straightforward there. End of opponent's turn, you may choose one of your opponent's Digimon. The chosen Digimon attacks. That's pretty cool. Now, what I'm unclear about on this is, what about Summoning Sickness? Does this circumvent that and allow it? I don't think so. I think the Digimon would need like Rush or something like that. But I did think it was a pretty interesting effect here. The chosen Digimon attacks, and you got the blocker, right? So if you didn't block, or the opponent just chose not to attack with anything because you had this big blocker here, you know, you're going to force that to attack anyways, and you're going to kill it. So it's pretty neat. I don't think it's like too crazy. Again, he is another name. Mostly you're going to use him with the Omnimon. I don't really expect you just to hard play this guy out as a blocker. There's like a lot of other choices you'd probably just rather play for that amount of memory, even with the reduction. Next, we got Lord Knight here. On play, you may return one card with Lucymon in its traits, in its name, or Royal Knight trait from your trash to your hand. So all that stuff you've been trashing, like, or say something got hit in security, like Omnimon got hit in security. Crap, I need that in my hand. And you can play out the Lord Knight here and grab it, so that way you're ready for the following turn for that. So nice little bit of recursion. Not overly, that's something you need a ton of, but definitely something you want some of, right? Opponent's turn. Once returned, when an opponent's Digimon attacks, for each of your Digimon with Royal Knight's traits, gain 1 memory. Whew. I saw a game where they dropped the Omnimon, right? And they brought out all the Royal Knights, but they couldn't attack for whatever reason. You know, whether it was an Alphamon or whatever, but they still had this full field, right? And then the Lord Knight was like, go ahead, attack. Yeah, we'll take all of that memory, 13 memory there, for your single attack. Yeah, Ice Wall, eat your heart out. Yeah, Lord Nightmon is here to show you how it's done. This card is super, super crazy once you really start going to town on your opponent there. But again, it's not something that is going to be too great until you get multiples on field. And you're not getting multiples on field until you're doing your Omnimon for the most part. The next one here and the last one, this is our other secret rare of the set. When you would play this card from your hand, if you do not have a Digimon in play, reduce the play cost by 2 for every 5 total cards in both players' trash, and it has Rush. This one's pretty cool. I'm a big fan. I like Gallantmon. I see how this could fit into a Gallantmon deck, like the purple ones that mill both decks out at the same time. This one would be pretty good for that deck. I definitely think might be a solid like one of in Gallantmon decks that are milling both sides out. And then you could just play this guy out and rush with him. He's got the rush on play, when devolving, and when attacking. So you can trigger 2 of these in one turn, as long as it's still your turn. So delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. If no Digimon is deleted by this effect, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 13,000 DP or more. So that's pretty cool. There's some wiggle room there, of course, if you're not doing anything, it happens. But either way, the fact that you can trigger it twice in one turn feels pretty good. And again, he's a super cheap rush target here, so you can use King Drasil to reduce him and reduce himself, so double stack that to make him pretty much free, and then you just swing away with your rush here, and then he just gets absorbed right back up. And you could even do multiple Gallantmons, as long as when you're just kind of like waiting until you're ready to pop off. Yeah, you could just keep dropping multiple Gallantmons. But again, like a single guy with rush isn't going to win you the game, so I'm not going to like go crazy on maxing this guy out. But he is at least more useful than just the turn that Omnimon shows up. So we'll go ahead and move him up there. So we have a nice split there, 6 versus 6. Actually works out really evenly. 6 of the ones that you can use outside of the turn with Omnimon, and then 6 that you're gonna are gonna really see some good value when Omnimon does drop. Now, the last little bit here that we're going to talk about is our options and our tamer here. Purge of the Royal Knights. So 6 play cost. Main, draw 1. You may place 1 Digimon card from your hand under one of your Idrisils in the breeding area as its bottom digital card. Then place this card into your battle area. So kind of interesting. You may place one of your Digimon card. Oh, this one does say it. I was reading a translation that didn't say place one from your hand. I was like, where does you place it from? Okay, yes. So this one does have the correct translation here. So slide one of your Royal Knights underneath one of your Idrisils. 6 play cost here. Remember though, it's going to go cheaper because you got the delay. It gets placed in the battle area after you play it. Idrisil inheritable. You can have up to 3, making this a 3 play cost here. So draw 1, slide a source under, not too bad. And then delay, play 1 Digimon card with Royal Knight traits from the Digivolution cards under the Digimon in your breeding area without paying the cost. Any on-play effects of this Digimon do not activate, and it gains Rush for the turn. So that's pretty cool. So you can just like play this out to help you get your setup. On the next turn, you know, you can go ahead and pop this to give it Rush, swing. Also kind of nice, even if it's an Omnimon turn where you're ready to pop off, this is a great one to use for something that you had doubles of, right? Because Omnimon only lets you play one of each, but say you had like 2 Magnamons, right? Well, you can pop this, play out a second Magnamon. So that's really cool. I'm a big fan of this card. So we're maxing this out absolutely at 4 of. This is too good not to. Draw 1 and source something. And it's instantly going to be a 5 play cost from turn 1. So turn 2, it's a 4 play cost. Easy card to run, and then you're just going to get so much value. And even if you're like, well, I don't know what I need to play with Rush, I mean, it doesn't really matter that much. Whatever you source under is something you want. Like, let's maybe source under like an Examon 14k, and then I just play that 14k out with Rush on the next turn so he can swing, and then he'll have a higher chance of surviving through my opponent's turn, and then he'll get absorbed right back into Idrisil. All right, now the last little bit here is this is the tech. I wouldn't say it's mine. Crimson Blaze. I've been on the Crimson Blaze bandwagon since like I saw this. I'm like, oh yeah, Crimson Blaze is great for this. I've used the crap out of Crimson Blaze like when I was playing Red Yellow Security Control, and then from Red Yellow Hybrid, all that stuff. Crimson Blaze been a big fan of Crimson Blaze. Reduce the memory cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each of your opponents. For each Digimon your opponent has in play. Really strong card, just in general, in lots of matchups. It just ruins D-Brigade's day, absolutely. Just clear their whole board. Lots of stuff like that. So that's really good. Delete all your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. So big board wipe. The other big important thing is, though, your opponent can't play Digimon by effects until the end of their next turn. This is like a must-have card for the Omnimon, like for this, in this case, the mirror match. But for the Royal Knight matchup, if you're playing a red deck, you probably want to fit in at least 2 Crimson Blaze, because you're gonna play a Royal Knight against a Royal Knight deck at some point. You can see the lining, in the sky, the silver lining. You can see writing in the stars. You know it's coming. Omnimon's dropping next turn, and you're gonna hard lose. I'm going to drop a Crimson Blaze to pass turn. I'm not even going to kill anything. But you know what? You can play that Omnimon. You just don't get to play any of your other Royal Knights from underneath your Idrisil. That's what this card's for. It's 100% just to counter the Omnimon play so they can't drop that and bring the boys to the party. So this is a must. I mean, you can drop this 2 turns in a row, and that's 2 turns your opponent basically just like sitting there twiddling their thumbs waiting to drop their Omnimon on you. And while you're basically winning, and that works for the mirror match here, whatever the case may be, you're just kind of biding your time until you can drop your Omnimon to kill them. Must-have card. If you're playing any sort of red deck, you're definitely going to want it. We do have some red stuff in the deck. Again, we got the Gallantmon here that can reduce, keep it on our turn, and then we can still play the Crimson Blaze. But I also incorporated the Marcus here. I did not come up with this idea. I literally saw this in another deck that someone posted on one of the Facebook groups, and I actually thought it was super clever. I want to run Crimson Blaze, and so I was like, okay, well, what red Tamer can I run that I'm going to feel like I'm actually getting value? One, I probably want a Memory Fixer, and then two, I would like a secondary effect that's somewhat useful. I could like run a hero for that, that 2k buff. It's okay, but like I'm already megas, like I'm not too worried about that. Also, I'm probably like 13 megas deep, so I'm really not worried about that one, getting that one little bit. The tie, the OG tie is not going to really do anything for you because you're not going to have a bunch of inheritables. So I was like, well, what else is there left that I could really get some good value here? And I think this Marcus is actually great. So when you play it on play, suspend this Tamer. When this Tamer becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3,000 DP for the turn. This is really great to handle stuff like Psychmon. Psychmon says you can't reduce play cost. Get Psychmon out of here. This is a great Psychmon killer, so minus 3k on that. And then you got a Memory Fixer. And then if you have a Digimon with Agumon or Greymon in its name, you gain 1 memory. So this could be a 4-play cost, but we're not running any of the techs that are going to get us there. I don't think running an Agumon is going to be really worth it here. So mainly this is our memory setter that's going to kill those pesky Psychmons that are just an absolute like killer for this deck. That is a hard counter, by the way. If you're looking for a good counter to deal with this deck, Psychmons or that type of effect, I think what Chikurimon also preventing reduced play cost is really going to be really powerful. So if you can run those, if you can't run Crimson Blaze, hopefully you can run those. So black and purple, I think those are the only two that do that so far. Prevent play cost reduction. Are going to be really good against this deck as well. So, and that is the total of it. Now, again, we are 2 cards short. So if anything in there felt like you wanted to bump it up, the Genkumon, the Alphamon, the Sistermon, the Blanc, the CL, like those are like my go-to picks, like right off the bat without thinking too much. If I was going to bump something up, it'd be like probably one of like 2 different cards. I don't think anything in here really needs to go up to a 4 of that we haven't already put at a 4 of. Again, you could drop maybe an Omnimon down to 3. That gives you 3 things you could bump up by 1. Whatever preference you have there. Also, at 2 of, you can run 1 of each artwork, which I personally am always a fan of. I know people are like, mixing arts, how dare you? But yeah, I like to have a collection of all the different artworks, so getting to run 1 of each is really cool in my mind. But yeah, that is the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. A bit of a long one here, but a lot to explain on it. If you have any suggestions, comments, questions, please put it in the comment section below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I possibly can.